we have lawyer Isaac Boamah-Nyarko, Member of Parliament for Efia Constituency in the Western region. Now, he's been questioning the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Akrotinga-Ayene's resolve to fight corruption, as no one has been prosecuted yet, citing the promises of oral and what we were, to derive from the prosecutions under oral. He joins us in the studio for us to really delve more into this. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, my brother. Adumara. I can find too joy.
No. And how's the constituency?
Oh, by grace, constituency is good. I just returned early this week on Monday, having gone to undertake an important exercise for me in terms of improving the quality of education in my constituency. Remember, the JHS people are moving to SHS1, and as part of my effort to improve on their quality and also assist needy students and parents, I offered some assistance in the form of mattresses and trunks and exercise books and provisions to students who were brilliant and others who are needy, so they could be able to continue to the senior high school. And that was the first time such a major intervention had taken place in the constituency.
Okay, good work there. But do you see what happened at the Jubilee Park too?
Yes. Let me say a good morning first to your cherished viewers and also to the good people of Efia and Western region. The Jubilee Park, of course, had been taken over by our traders during the COVID period as an attempt to improve on the distancing. But 5 years down the line, they've still been in occupation of the place. And the Assembly, in consultation with the market leadership, had tried to see if they could move them to a new location in Apremdo called Abembeboom.
Now the chief says we should call it the Apremdo Central Market.
Oh, so they don't want Abembeboom?
No, they want Apremdo Central Market. It's
okay, so it's a good name. Yeah, Apremdo, but Abembeboom, Apremdo Market. So let's take it Apremdo Central Market. Yeah. So efforts have been made to move them for good reason, to the extent that, where the Jubilee Park sits, it also has some connection with the flight that comes into Takoradi. And there's been concerns about the birds and the rest that try to frustrate the air traffic situation. But I believe the engagement should have been exhaustive. And also, normally the place we put them, we should normally make sure that it's well prepared. But whatever it is, they've been moved since the Monday, and efforts are being made to make where they are going more comfortable. I'll be going back to constituency tomorrow. And so by Saturday, I'll be visiting the place to see how well our mothers have settled within that particular.
Okay. You came back on Monday?
Yes.
You're going back on Friday?
On Friday, yes.
Wow.
I have some health screening exercise for breast cancer health screening in the constituency on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
I'm bringing professionals from Accra and Cape Coast to try and let us test the health position of our mothers. And so we'll be doing a very massive breast cancer screening exercise on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. All right. Kudos to you then.
Thank you.
But you are you still practice law, right?
That is correct.
And you are challenging your colleague lawyer, probably your senior at the bar, right?
By far.
By far. And he's the leader of the bar now.
That's correct.
Dr. Dominic Akrotinga-Ayene, on his handling of oral and corruption-related matters. But as a lawyer, you also believe in due process.
That's correct.
So the man explains that due process is being followed, and that's why we haven't seen much. Why take an issue with it?
So the difficulty has to do with the fanfare, which came out as a result of the oral activities. You remember, post the elections, the president, right after NDC won in December, they constituted this oral, before even the swearing in of His Excellency the President, with an understanding and intention that there's been so much corruption over the past 4 years or 8 years under Nana Akufo-Addo, such that they needed that oral to collate all the reports of corruption, amongst others, and then prosecute people when they find guilty. And so a lot of fanfare was made out of it. Finally, that committee submitted its report to the president. The president again had a fanfare, giving the Attorney General over 2,000 supposedly alleged cases of corruption for the Attorney General to investigate and then prosecute offenders. So 12 months down the line, the understanding we had from oral was that it concerned matters of petty stealing and complaints amongst others. But 10 months down the line, what has been the outcome of the oral? What has been the result, the report from oral that indicates, for example, that the AG had reviewed the 2,000 cases. He has belief that about 1,000 of them carry some merit. They are doing further investigation around it. As are now, maybe 20, 30 cases are ripe for prosecution. Then we know we are going somewhere. But when you go around and throw it in the public space for political expediency, that there's so much corruption, we create all this panic within the public space, only for you to come into power and 10 months down the line, there's complete, absolute silence in the area of this oral work. And all the time that they sat with Domolovu and the rest, he's now at Yoku. What has become of the oral report? And I believe the AG owes Ghanaians either to explain to us the extent of work and the updates of thereon, or they should apologize to the good people of Ghana for all the noise that they made with regards to this oral and corruption-related matters. Now, the few cases that he's even coming up with, it's out of pressure. If you listen to public discussion, people are concerned as to, you come and give us a media briefing as to investigations that are ongoing and so on and so forth, only for you to turn around and not see anything happening. And so I'm happy that at the end of the day, he's finding his feet to do 1 or 2 cases. But that doesn't support the noise and the fanfare that came as a result of the oral conversation.
But they have 4 years.
Yes.
Why are you putting pressure on them in 10 months?
It's not about 4 years tenure. It's about consistency in the case and the allegations that you make. Okay? You owe it as a people to give us a briefing. You owe it to us to give us an update. You owe it to us that after 10 months of investigations into those alleged cases of corruption, there's been none grounded enough. And it is important that he even briefs us as to the ones that he has to ignore or take out. Because, see, a lot of people had gone there with a lot of allegations. You have thrown it within the public space that there's so much corruption over the last 8 years. So when you review, give us an update. Tell us that about 1,000 of them were unmeritorious, about 50 of them has some merit, and then let's have a, because at the stage as being the Attorney General, he's no more a political appointee.
But what if that is a style that he wants to use in running the Attorney General's office?
But his style has been to come into the public space and give us briefing even before he goes to court. That had never been the practice of the Attorney General. The Attorney General normally will stay back, review all his cases. At the end of the day, he meets you in court. But we've seen a different style of an Attorney General who is always in the public space trying to give us information as to investigation, the status of the investigation, and at the end of it, or which ones are prime for prosecution. And I'm saying that that same style should be applied to the oral report. That same style should tell us as a good people of Ghana that I had 2,000 reports, 1,500 are all meritorious. And then we know clearly that the AG has reviewed the report, and this is the state of it. But you can't keep silent after you have made so much noise and so much fanfare as to the level of corruption under the past 8 years. And we have all of these there, and he owes it as a citizen and as the chief legal advisor to the president to update us as a good people that this is the position of oral, this is my reviewed position, these are ones that are considered viable enough for prosecution, and whether he will do the prosecution in a year, 2 years, or 3 years, that is why he's the Attorney General.
What is the end game of this advocacy or campaign?
No, it is for us to be sincere to ourselves as a people, that it is not enough for people to, for political gain, make a lot of hue and cry about corruption when we have no basis. Because you see, people have been given a mandate to serve over a period of time, and they have to be held accountable for their stewardship. And so whether there's a change of government or government is running, it behoves on leadership to hold public officers accountable. And so when you make a lot of story or news about corruption, and the president himself, prior to, and by establishing oral, he showed us his seriousness in combating corruption, because he didn't wait to even be sworn in. So it was as if once I take office in 7th of January, I'm going to work on corruption. And you have this report handed over to Attorney General for over 7 months, and the Attorney General is not giving us a briefing. So that is curious. That is where I'm coming from. He has to tell us something about that document. He has to tell us the outcome of his investigations. If he has not completed investigation, he should tell us. But I know for sure that a good proportion of that work has been completed, and there is no legitimate way for him to go out there and prosecute. That is the information I have.
But the Signals Bureau is part of the oral work, not so?
The Signals Bureau. He has not told us that it was part of oral work. I doubt if that was part of oral work.
But you're the same group of people who, if they act, you say political persecution. Why don't you allow him to take his time to do his work?
You know, I've not spoken about political persecution to the extent that if you are bringing charges against people, you have to be seen to be acting in fairness. You have to be seen to be addressing the matter holistically. But when you pick and choose the cases for which you are going to prosecute, then it raises matters of concern. We have an Attorney General that took office, and in less than 2 weeks, he has entered into nolle prosequi. He had entered into withdrawal of cases in the public space against people perceived to be connected to the government. And so, if you are seen in one breath withdrawing cases against people who are being prosecuted, if in one breath you are entering nolle prosequi against people who are being prosecuted, and then in another breath you are starting, those that are being prosecuted have gotten to stages where even some cases were being concluded for the court to make a determination. And the AG is telling us that he didn't think that the state will win. If the state will not win, allow the court to make a pronouncement. Why do you withdraw the matter? If the state, if the AG, the previous AG, had no basis to prosecute those people and has been able to go through due process to almost the end, why do you withdraw the cases? Allow courts to make that judgment.
Well, he gave reasons.
What was
unless
his
you know, unless you say the reasons are not tenable.
They are not tenable because it doesn't behove on him to pass judgment on the matter.
But he has the discretionary right to continue cases.
Not
you're a lawyer, so you know that.
You exercise that. You should exercise that power sparingly. You don't exercise it capriciously.
Okay.
You are saying that in Ghana today we had thousands of cases being prosecuted. Are they the only cases that the AG saw basis to withdraw and discontinue? Do you know the number of cases in court as we speak today? People who have been taken to custody for over 4 years and their matter is not being heard. Some cases where you can't even find dockets and the people are being put in cells because the cases are not being brought. And the AG never saw this as necessary for discontinuance. And only people that are being perceived to be connected, the now governor of the Bank of Ghana, the now deputy director at the NIB, and all of those people are the people he saw fit. Please, that's a country, let's get serious. And the media and everybody has to be concerned that this was only politically motivated. And I'm saying, if you go after withdrawing cases against people perceived to be connected to you, and then in another breath you are interested in fighting the previous administration, and that becomes political persecution. And that's why people are raising that concern. But for me, public officials should be held accountable for their stewardship, whether in the past, in the present, or in the future.
But when you took that decision, and you didn't disagree, you disagreed with him, what could have been the remedy available to you, for example, as a Ghanaian, as an MP, as a lawyer?
Because the law allows the AG to take that decision. So I can't question it.
Okay.
But I can only comment on it.
Okay.
I can only express my view on it. And that is why I'm saying that the AG did us a disservice by discontinuing those cases. He should have allowed the court of competent jurisdiction to pronounce their innocence. Remember, Chachu Chikata had one matter. He wanted to discontinue. He said, no, let the court establish my innocence. So that I know for sure that the case that was brought against me was unmeritorious. So he should have allowed all those cases because it was never going to cost the new Attorney General much in completing the case that were before court. Because all of them had they've gone through various stages, cross-examination, written statements have all been done. They were merely ending. And so why are you in a hurry to withdraw them? Because maybe he knew that those people would be jailed.
But some of the cases, He was initially party 2, not so.
Yes, and
so if he was initially party 2 and said this man is innocent, and he comes into the Attorney General's office and has to prosecute someone he has said is innocent, I mean,
that is the conflict. You know, those areas were areas that we called the AG to be conflicted, because you can't be a party to a matter in your previous administration or previous position as a legal practitioner, become an Attorney General and make a determination on the same matter. Because when he was the counsel for those people, he was supposed to go to court and defend them. But now he's in a different capacity, either to prosecute the people or allow others to complete the process and the court to make a determination. And so if he took a decision to withdraw the case from them, then it means he was conflicted. Then actually, it is a serious conflict of interest position that the Attorney General found himself.
What if tomorrow you wake up and the Attorney General says, I've conducted oral, I have this number of cases that we're going to go to court on. Will we not hear you again come up to talk about political persecution?
Why would that be? You know, nobody should be afraid of going to court. The court is a place for people to be heard. And people are not guilty unless they are pronounced so. So going to court doesn't mean the person is guilty, all right? It is the process, the transparency, and the way in which we conduct ourselves that makes it appear that people are being persecuted. We are talking about this Galamsey, we'll get there, when people have been referred for further investigation. We know people who are doing this Galamsey business across the country. And all we know is Akonta mining because it is known to me. Are we saying that the entire Ghana landscape where we are doing Galamsey, it is only Akonta mining that is mining across the country? It is good to start from somewhere, but show us leadership that in addition to Akonta mining, everybody that has been responsible for degrading our environment will be brought in. Remember, the president issued a letter citing some 2 NDC personalities to be referred for further investigations. What has been the outcome of that investigation? How many months down the line? How can the president of a republic release an information to you for investigation and 3 months down the line we have no report on it? Isn't that curious? If really the president wanted an answer, don't you think 1 month later we should have gotten a feedback that they've done the investigation, this is the outcome, and the people are being prosecuted? Please, let's be serious as a country.
But can't you request for information on it?
You know, these are some of the medium we use to make those points so that government will respond up. You know, Parliament has been on recess for close to 2 months, and we are going back next week. And I believe once we go to Parliament next week, a lot of the questions we have raised whilst we were out of Parliament, we'll be able to ask them for the AG and any other body who has to brief us to tell us.
Once we go, you've delved into Galamsey. But before I take you to Galamsey, now, yesterday, I understand that you raised an issue with the DVLA making illegal charges. You made that?
Yes.
Now, so what exactly is your issue? Is it that DVLA did not come to Parliament for approval, or that DVLA could not have done those charges without putting the suspected offenders before a court so that the court will impose a charge?
No, fees and charges are imposed by Parliament, not by any government agency on its whims and caprice, by regulation. So you would normally have made your fees, taking it through government for approval, and then it will be laid before Parliament. Parliament will have to approve it before you go ahead and charge. But here's the case: DVLA had gone ahead to charge people for either sport fines, amongst others, without recourse to Parliament. And that is an affront to the law. And these are areas we are raising because it is becoming one too many. The government thinks that a lot of decisions that require parliamentary approval now never seeks to come to Parliament with it. Is it because they want to bring the image and reputation of Parliament into disrepute? Or is just a disregard because they have absolute majority, as in over 2/3 majority in Parliament? But Parliament is a sacred institution. It is completely separate from the executive. Parliament is made up of representation of the Ghanaian people. 276 members appointed or elected by the entire country. If you take the executive, it is only the president that is elected. And so when the law makes it such that something that you are going to charge us as a people should get the people's consent. And you don't bring it to Parliament and you begin to charge. And then when issues are brought, you say, I've suspended it, and now you are bringing it to Parliament. Are they saying that they never knew that they had to bring it to Parliament in the first place? And so I get worried again, the style of government, trying to disregard the authority of Parliament, trying to disregard the powers that Parliament has been vested in by the Constitution. We've been talking about it, Gitmo 2 case where the Supreme Court has talked about bringing agreement under Article 75(2). And here we are. They have signed a memorandum of understanding with the United States. Clearly that understanding has to be brought to Parliament for approval. And we are now talking and nobody is talking about it. Nobody is bringing it to Parliament. So it's becoming one too many. But issues that require parliamentary approval that they are completely disregarding. And that is unhealthy for our governance structure.
The law that sets up DVLA, doesn't it allow them to undertake these sport fines?
No, we only need the approval of Parliament.
Okay.
You will initiate it. You get the concurrence of your ministry, and then you bring it to Parliament. So you are the implementing agency, but the final authorization should come from Parliament. You cannot say to your somewhere at DVLA and be imposing fees and charges. You can't. The law doesn't empower them. They should show us the powers in DVLA Act. Why have they stopped? And what happens to those that they collected money from? Prior to they stopping this exercise and trying to bring it before Parliament. So clearly, President has come up with Code of Ethics and Conduct. Why are they not sanctioning the DVLA Chief Executive? Why are they not sanctioning him? Who took that decision for them to go ahead and do it without recourse to Parliament?
Is it in the code that if you take a decision without going to Parliament, you should be sanctioned?
No, the code is if you do any action that embarrasses government, if you take any decision that you know or ought to have known that it requires certain procedures and you don't, it is an affront to the Code of Conduct. And somebody should sanction somebody.
Okay. All right. So you wait for them in Parliament as they bring
That's correct.
Those. And will you ask the question about what happens to the monies they've collected before?
Oh, of course. We've already signaled the Committee of Transport, and I know they are preparing themselves to meet them squarely.
Would they compel them to pay back those monies to the people?
Let's get there and then we'll cross it.
Okay. But on Galamsey, briefly, we don't have a lot of time. I'll just give you 2 minutes on this. What's your real issue with government? Because government has shown that it is dealing with this Galamsey. We've seen NIMOS going to this Galamsey side to do arrests, burn properties. Also, the government has reported about some turbidity levels of some river bodies also improving. So what are your real issues?
Government had failed us completely in the fight against illegal mining. Their actions today are just a representation of the pressure that Ghanaians have put on the government to act. Because, you took office knowing clearly the state of the illegal mining business. People were not too happy with the way the NPP government had acted because some bold decisions were not taken. So by December before the elections, both President Mahama and then flag bearer of the NPP, Dr. Mahmoud Boamah, had taken a firm commitment to combat the illegal mining business. So you take over power. There are certain priorities that you have to set. And illegal mining was one of the key concerns of Ghanaians. And so you don't leave it to deteriorate where our river bodies were being attacked with impunity, forest reserves were being attacked with impunity, even our railway lines were being attacked with impunity, our electricity lines were being attacked with impunity, and the entire country has to rise up. And then you call a coalition and team to Jubilee House to now come and discuss the way forward for Galamsey.
Okay.
10 months after coming into office.
Okay.
And so these minor steps, the Blue Water Guards, the NIMOS, and the rest, they're already there. They are task forces that previous administrations have established to fight it. But what is the government's blueprint? Okay. Today, if I ask you, what is the executive president's blueprint in combating Galamsey? Where is it?
Well, I'm grateful to you for joining us here. Lawyer Isaac Boamah-Nyarko is a member of parliament, the member of parliament for Efia Constituency in the Western region. He joined us for breakfast this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We'll take a break here. I'll be back with more on the AM show. Do stay.